In today's lesson, we are going to do lesson 3.2.1, which is diagramming subtraction. And we worked in a previous lesson on how to show diagramming of adding. And we're going to be using positive and negative tiles to show the subtraction. And notice the subtle difference between the diagramming of subtraction and addition. Okay, so let's start with the first slide. It says, examine the assortment of positive and negative tiles, and what integer does this assortment represent? So look at these tiles right here. We know that every plus is a positive one, every minus is a negative one. So what does that represent? All right, so what you should have seen is you have a 0 pair here, 0 pair, 0 pair, and a 0 pair, leaving you with -2. So that's the value of this collection of tiles. What would happen if 3 positive tiles are removed? Okay, so we are going to show that removal or subtraction being done with circling the tiles and showing an arrow that they are physically being removed. They are being taken away. So going back to kindergarten, when we learned that subtraction was just taking away. All right, so now once we take away 3 positives, so we had -2 to begin with, that's what we started with, and we took away 3 positives. I don't need to put a plus because these are positives. And what is left over is I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negatives and 1 positive. Okay, and this leaves a 0 pair there, giving me -5. So this diagram with the circle and the arrow shows the subtraction problem. -2 minus 3 equals -5. Okay, now, and it's different from the problem -2 plus -3, because -2 plus -3 is also going to give me 5, but -2 plus -3 looks like this. I have a -2, and then I'm adding -3, and I'm going to get 5. Okay, so that's -2 plus -3. So you see how those two diagrams of addition and subtraction are different. Okay, now in the next slide, same collection of tiles, but what if we were to remove 3 negatives? Okay, so we're starting with -2 again, because we have those 4 0 pairs, and that leaves us with 2 negatives. And if we are to take away or subtract 3 negative tiles from this collection of tiles, what are we left with? All right, so we started with -2, and we're taking away 3 negatives. Okay, we're not taking away positives, we're taking away negatives, and that leaves us with, there's a 0 pair, 0 pair, 0 pair. That leaves us with 1. All right, so this problem shows -2 minus -3. Okay, and again, different from -2 plus 3. Even though -2 plus 3 gives me the same result, here's a 0 pair, here's a 0 pair, I still get 1, but this is -2 plus 3. Okay, those are completely different. This is the diagram for addition. This is the diagram for subtraction. Notice the subtraction has the arrow with the circle tiles that are being removed. Okay, so that's the general concept here with the subtraction, and it all starts with 3 questions. Okay, and the questions are going to be laid out on our notes. So let's see if you can tell what's going on here. What is this subtraction problem? And what you should have gotten is we're starting with 8. Okay, so we have 8 positives here, and then 2 0 pairs. That gives us 8. And we are subtracting 2 negatives. So this problem right here shows 8 minus -2 equals 10. Right? Because we took away the negatives, and that adds the positives. Okay, it's kind of like when you take away negativity from your life gets more positive. Okay, So now we're going to look at different problems here, but first just kind of go over the steps when we are subtracting. What are the things that we need to look for? What are the things we need to keep in mind? Okay, so this is 3, 2, 1. We are subtracting integers. Okay, so the first question that we need to ask when we're subtracting a problem, this will kind of keep you a little bit grounded with your procedures, is question 1. What am I starting with? So what do I start with? And that's usually the first number that's there in the problem. All right? Now, once you realize what you start with, you're going to draw the tiles. You're going to draw it, right? You're going to draw it. So you're going to put positives, or you're going to put negatives, whatever you see as the first number in that problem. Okay. Now the next one is what am I subtracting? Okay, now this is a very important step because you need to know, am I subtracting a positive number or a negative number? And if I'm subtracting a positive number, I just put that number. If it's a negative, then I would have to subtract negative, put parentheses around that second negative. I'll show you what I mean when we get to the example. Okay, so am I subtracting positives or am I subtracting negatives? And our third question is, do I have, in my collection of tiles, do I have whatever I'm taking away? Do I have this? I'm taking away 3 negatives, or I'm taking away 3 positives. Do I have them so I can just circle them and take them away? So here's where we have 2 different outcomes. So if your answer is yes, okay, so if your answer is yes, then all you have to do is take it away. Okay, and by taking away, I mean if you're taking away 2, you would just circle it and then draw the arrow. Okay, so that's what it looks like when you take away what you do have. Okay, now let's say your answer is no, I don't have the tiles that I'm going to take away. Okay, so if your answer is no, then what you're going to need to do is you're going to have to find a way so that you can have those tiles to take away. So I'm going to do some examples and see if anyone can come up with that procedure. We'll come back and fill this in, but I want to see if anybody can give us a suggestion. Okay, so here's our first example. Okay, so we have -8 minus -3. Okay, and we're going to draw that in tiles, show the subtraction, and then get a final value. So first of all, we all know what the value is now, but can you draw it? All right, so here's what you should have. So first, what are we starting with? We are starting with -8. So we are going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, second question, what am I subtracting? We are subtracting 3, but they're negatives, minus -3. So we are subtracting 3 negatives. Do we have 3 negatives? Yes, we do. So all we're going to do is take these away. So we're going to take those 3 negatives, make them go away, and our final value is what's left. And what's left is -5. Okay, so this right here shows -8 minus -3, and the value is -5. All right, not that bad. So let's do example 2. You have 7 minus 5. Okay, now we all know that. We all know the answer to it, but showing it as a diagram is a little bit different. All right, so what you should have is, what are we starting with? We're starting with 7. What are we subtracting? We're subtracting 5. Are these positives or negatives? These are 5 positives because we don't see that negative, double negative for the subtraction. So do I have 5 positives to take away? And again, the answer is yes. I do have 5 to take away. Take them away. And so there's my 2. 7 minus 5 is 2. All right. Next one, example 3. And here's where we get to that third question. 0 minus 4. Okay, how am I going to show 0 minus 4? Okay, so we are starting with 0. So according to that first one, the first question, I'm going to draw it. Okay, I'm going to draw 0. There it is. And I'm subtracting 4 positives. But do I have 4 positives? I'm subtracting 4 of these, but I don't have them because 0 gives me no tiles here. Okay, so the question is, do I have it? The answer is no. Okay, so what do you do if you don't have 4 positives to take away? All right, and the answer is, if I don't have it, then I need to make 0 pairs until I do. Okay, and we all remember what a 0 pair is. A 0 pair means you have a positive and a negative together. That is a 0 pair. All right, so I do not have 4 positives to take away, so here I go. There's 1 0 pair. I still don't have 4 positives to take away, so I will need 4 0 pairs. All right, and now I have 4 positives to take away, and I need to show those 4 positives being taken away. So take them away, and what's left is negative 4. Okay, so this drawing shows 0 minus 4 equals negative 4. All right, so let's move on to the next one. We have negative 6 minus 2. All right, so here's what you should have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're taking away 2 positives. We don't have any positives, so that means we need to add 2 0 pairs. Now I can take away 2 positives. And once I take away 2 positives, what am I left with? Negative 8. So negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8. All right, next example. We have 3 minus negative 4. And here's what you should have. What are we starting with? There's a 3. What are we taking away? 4 negatives. No, I do not have them, so I need 4 0 pairs. And now I can take away those 4 negatives. And 3 minus negative 4 is 7. And here's the next example. We have negative 1 minus negative 9. Okay, here's what we should have. Starting with negative 1, we're taking away 9 negatives. How many 0 pairs do we need? And the answer is, if we're taking away 9 negatives, we already have 1. So we only need 8 0 pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now that we have 8 zero pairs, we are taking away 9 negatives. That's 9 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we have an answer of 8. So 1 minus negative 9 is 8.